At first light in the Caribbean Sea, close to the outer edge of Venezuela's exclusive economic zone, American radar operators noticed something that did not belong. The screens showed faint underwater movement, weak, scattered echoes that failed to align with the predictable rhythms of commercial traffic or routine naval patrols. The data was incomplete. The sonar picture lacked resolution. There was no clear silhouette, no defined track, and no immediate sign of danger. On the surface, the ocean appeared calm, but beneath that calm surface, two Venezuelan submarines were already moving into position. While American commanders believed the area to be stable, those submarines were closing distance in near silence. What Venezuelan leadership believed was a controlled maneuver toward a lone American amphibious ship was, in reality, a dangerous misreading. Ahead of them was not a single vessel, but a fully armed United States carrier strike group, protected by layered sensors, multiple escorts, and overlapping defensive systems. Neither side yet understood how close they were to a moment that could spiral out of control. This moment raises a critical question. Could one warning torpedo, fired under a false assumption, have been enough to push two nations to the edge of naval confrontation? If you want to understand how small mistakes at sea can reshape global security, stay with The Military Mind, where we analyze the moments that almost change history. The situation began to unravel the moment outdated radar information reached the Venezuelan submarine crews. According to the report they received, a large American vessel was operating alone near the maritime boundary. What the report failed to reveal was decisive. The radar data was several hours old. In naval operations, hours can mean everything. A ship can change course, speed, formation, or mission entirely within that window. Yet the submarines had no way to independently verify the contact. They were operating under strict emissions control, unable to activate active sensors without exposing their position. Their orders were direct: close the distance quietly and observe from below the thermal layer. Both submarines, the S-21 Bolivar and the S-23 Sucre, relied on diesel-electric propulsion, a system designed for short periods of near-total silence. As they advanced, strong and irregular noises began traveling through the water. To the crews, the sounds suggested deck activity consistent with a single large ship, possibly helicopters being prepared or equipment being repositioned. Every acoustic cue seemed to confirm the briefing they had been given. As the submarines reached what they believed was the outer edge of their engagement zone, commanders faced a choice: withdraw and risk appearing passive, or send a signal. They chose the signal. The S-21 prepared a shallow-running torpedo, configured for a limited distance and programmed to self-destruct. This was not intended to strike a target. It was meant to communicate presence, resolve, and readiness. The weapon entered the water. To the Venezuelan crew, this was controlled deterrence. To the United States Navy, it was something else entirely. Any torpedo launch, regardless of depth, fuse, or intention, is treated as a genuine threat. The moment the torpedo left the tube, the encounter crossed an invisible line. The situation shifted from misunderstanding to crisis. American destroyers forming the outer defensive screen were already tracking faint cavitation patterns, tiny vapor bubbles created when submarine propellers disturbed the water. The signals were weak but irregular enough to trigger attention. When the torpedo launched, ambiguity vanished. Modern sonar systems instantly recognized the unmistakable acoustic signature of a weapon entering the water. The sound revealed powered movement along a defined path. Within seconds, the information was transmitted across the strike group's command network. Routine operations stopped. Combat readiness began. The aircraft carrier adjusted course to increase distance from the projected threat. Escort ships widened their spacing, deploying acoustic decoys designed to confuse incoming torpedoes. Anti-submarine helicopters moved to immediate launch readiness, prepared to deploy sensors and weapons if confirmation followed. Every system assumed the worst, because assuming otherwise could cost lives. The torpedo completed its short run and detonated exactly as programmed, but underwater, explosions do not explain intent. The sonar arrays detected a sharp, concentrated shock wave, identical to the terminal explosion of a hostile torpedo that had failed to strike its target. To American operators, the acoustic sequence was unmistakable. Two contacts approaching, a torpedo launch, a powered run, a final explosion. This was not a single sound, it was a complete chain, and that chain matched the profile of a real attack. Defensive doctrine permits force when a torpedo threatens a protected asset. The command staff had only seconds to decide. They chose to wait. For 3 seconds, sonar operators searched for follow-on indicators, accelerating propulsion noise, guidance corrections, closing distance. A live torpedo would reveal itself quickly. Nothing appeared. The absence of continuing signals changed the assessment. The data suggested the weapon had completed its programmed run and self-destructed. With no second launch detected, the immediate justification for engagement disappeared. The order was given: hold fire, maintain defensive posture. Those 3 seconds prevented escalation and possibly war. At the center of the incident was a critical technical weakness inside Venezuela's coastal surveillance network. Much of the system relied on aging radar processors that were never designed to handle dense, overlapping signals in humid and unstable atmospheric conditions common to the Caribbean. As radar waves traveled long distances through moisture-heavy air, reflections bent and scattered, reducing clarity and distorting scale. Over nearly 2 days, radar operators repeatedly observed what appeared to be a single, extremely large vessel moving near the edge of the exclusive economic zone. The image flickered in and out through interference, but each sweep of the antenna reinforced the same conclusion: one massive ship, steady and deliberate. In reality, multiple American vessels were sailing in tight formation. Their individual radar returns overlapped and fused into a single block on outdated displays. To Venezuelan planners, this presence looked intentional: an American ship testing boundaries and probing reactions. To the United States, the transit was routine and unremarkable. Neither side understood how differently the same movement was being interpreted, and that gap in perception quietly set the stage for escalation. After the explosion, Venezuelan submarine crews detected something deeply unsettling: the coordinated movement of multiple large vessels above them. The truth became unavoidable. They had approached a carrier strike group. Both submarines reduced speed to near silence and descended below the thermocline, using temperature layers to mask their retreat. American ships tracked the contacts as they faded, while helicopters extended search patterns to confirm withdrawal. No pursuit followed. Restraint held on both sides. This incident did not end in conflict, but it came dangerously close. A delayed radar return, a misidentified formation, a warning interpreted as an attack. Only disciplined judgment prevented a regional crisis. At sea, decisions are made in seconds, yet their consequences can shape years of diplomacy and security. This encounter reminds us that power is not measured only by weapons, but by the ability to pause when escalation seems inevitable. The sea may look calm now, but moments like this quietly shape the future. For more deep analysis of near-miss confrontations and global military developments, subscribe to The Military Mind and stay ahead of what happens next.